start my reflections about Cynthia, I start back to the very beginning, living on Alexander Street, being at home with my two brothers, Gilbert and Robert, and getting the phone call from my dad saying, your mom had a girl. And in my mind, I remember us all jumping up and down on the bed. You know, we had a little sister, you know, we were all young, but we were all excited. I remember Cynthia coming home to Alexander Street, and we lived there, and being a big brother to her, taking her and Jackie walking on King Street.
When we were outside playing on Benston Street, tag football or dodgeball, Cynthia would play for maybe a second or two, and then she would always sit on Secret Heart church entrance watching us play. But you know what she was doing? Reading. She always had a book, reading. She was reading. Come, Cynthia, we need somebody else to make the team full. And she's like, no, I'll just sit here and watch y'all while she was reading.
And I remember the gentleman coming by selling encyclopedias, and Mom bought a set. So we had a set of encyclopedia at the house. But you got to go back in time to remember there was no central heat and air. Window units were a new thing, and we didn't have them. So Cynthia would be upstairs, windows open in the summer, reading. And anytime we couldn't find Cynthia, we knew where to look. She was upstairs reading something. And most of the time we would find her reading those encyclopedias.
She always had this desire to escape and to explore and to wonder. I remember every Sunday morning waking up smelling bacon, corned beef hash, grits and eggs. James Cleveland was playing in the background loud, and my mom would yell, Cynthia, Jackie, Malcolm, Melvin, get up, we're going to church, get ready. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and we all knew that every Sunday morning it was an expectation that we were going to church and we were going to Emmanuel. Emmanuel has been in the fabric of our family for some 60 years. My grandmother went there. My mom went there. She sung in the choir. Our Aunt Bernice sung in the choir. It was what we did every Sunday morning. And so we all went to church, and Cynthia was the first one always ready to go. She just loved going to church and loved being there. We would sometimes sneak from church, which was like, a capital punishment if we got caught. And we would go down to the corner store and get candy and sodas, whatever, to bring it back because we would know that we would be there all day. Cynthia would not go, but she would always be on the receiving end when we got back. What y'all got? Where's the candy? Where's the soda?
I remember my sister going off to college, Clark, Atlanta. That was a big step. Wow. First in the family to go to college, and how excited she was, and how excited the family was. And taking her there, and then having to leave her there. I remember her telling me the stories about pledging to her sorority and the things she had to go through. And, she would laugh about it now, but she said, it wasn't funny then, having me run across campus to do this, and I had to cook for them and do these different things for my sorority sisters. But she said, looking back on it now, it was fun. When Mom became ill, Cynthia was in Atlanta. Our father had passed away, and Mom was ill. And we were trying to decide how we're going to take care of Mom. She was alone in the house. And Cynthia said, I'll come home. I'll come home and I'll take care of Mom. That's Cynthia. That's the Cynthia I want people to know. It wasn't, well, I've got my career, you're there, you take care of Mom. No, I'm coming home and I'll take care of Mom. Cynthia would work and simply give her paycheck to Mom and say, here it is. All I need is some money to get my hair done and some money for lunch.
When my mom died, Cynthia literally became not only my big sister, but a mother figure. She coached me out of college. When I got married and I told her I was going to marry Kim, she interviewed Kim. She made sure that this was the right person for me.
If Cynthia was on your side, you had somebody on your side. She wasn't going to give up on you. She wasn't going to let you down. She was going to stick and stay.
Dear Cynthia, another anniversary is here, and it hasn't gotten any easier to deal with. It's a bittersweet day for me. It's the day I became a mother, and you was right there by my side as I gave birth. And it's also the day that evil walked into our church and took you away from the people who loved you, along with 8 others. I keep going back to the conversation, the very last conversation we had together via text. We were trying to finalize your trip to come see me in Virginia. And you wanted to know the address of the hotel that you was going to be staying at for the GPS. I didn't have that address available at the time. And you text me that we have time. And the last thing I text back to you was, I know. Little to be known that you was going to be gone the very next day. In a blink of an eye, your whole life can be flipped upside down. That rocked me to my core because we never had the time that we thought we both had. So I had to move on from that. And it's been really, really hard. I've been trying to take one day at a time, living like I know you would want me to do, but it's so hard. I don't know why things happen the way they do, but God has a reason for everything. And we had a conversation once before about death. And you told me when it comes to death, it's the sting that goes away, not the memory. And that death is not forever because we have a chance to be reunited again one day. I hold on to that. That gives me strength. Just like I know you always gives me strength. I miss you every day. I will carry you with me always because the bond we had together on earth is gone, but the bond that I carry in my heart and in my soul will never go away. That can never be taken away from me, and that will never be broken. I love you, Cynthia. Until we see each other again, I will carry you with me always.
Cynthia was my supervisor. She was my mentor. She was my best friend. There is not a day that goes by that I don't reflect on my friendship with Cynthia. Not one day. She had incredible gifts and she generously shared them. Cynthia was creative. My daughters and I, we called Cynthia Gadget, and that's because she was a Tinkerbell, a fixer. Sometimes it was a project similar to something we had watched on HGTV, or sometimes it was a recipe for which she needed a particular appliance or an ingredient that we'd have to hunt at 3 different markets to find. She even took an upholstery class once so that she could refurbish some chairs.
Sometimes after meetings, Cynthia would just drop by the house because I lived adjacent at the time to the library a few blocks away. And we'd have meetings on Wednesdays. So this particular Wednesday, Cynthia said, oh, Marvin, you mind if I stop by and relax for a few minutes and just get a couple of glasses of water? I said, fine. Little did I know the next 2.5 years of my life would be changed. Cynthia looked around the house, and she walked in the den, And she said, when was the last time you did a makeover here? I said, a makeover? She said, yes. I think it needs a little different flavor. She said, well, I'm gonna spruce it up a little bit. I said, how much is this gonna cost me, Cynthia? She said, maybe about $500, $600. This $600 calls me in with a Lowe's check account, American Express, I think a master charge. It was thousands upon thousands of dollars. Every week we were purchasing something different for this little small project. Cynthia did that personally. And it took her over 2.5 years, and she would work on this project. She would come by once or twice a week after work. On weekends, she had my house in disarray.
On the weekend prior to the tragedy, we went to Lowe's. And Gadget was like a kid in a candy store when it came to Lowe's. We walked the aisles, nearly every one of them, and talked and laughed and chatted for what seemed like a very long time, only to leave with just those little burners, the little pans that go under the burners on the stove.
Each time I walk in my den, I get to reflect on her, the good memories, and how talented she was. And she took it even a step further, because after she renovated the den, she then decided, okay, now that we've done the den, we really need to do something with the dining room and the living room. Now remember, Cynthia was doing this for free. Of course, I wanted to give her money, but she would not accept any pay. She just loved being creative.
Cynthia was a nurturer. And maybe it was because she was a fixer. She even had a pink hard hat. She was a good listener, and she made time for others to just listen and strategize.
She literally adopted all the nieces and the nephews. My kids, Melvin kids, Robert kids, they were hers. And she provided the same type of love and guidance and direction. She was so proud of Courtney. Courtney also pledged AKA, and Cynthia was an AKA, so that made her happy, and they talked shop and AKA stuff. And my youngest daughter, Nicole, was a very, very good basketball player. She was all conference, all regional, all observer, Charlotte observer, and Cynthia would come to games from Charleston. And she would tell Nicole that she didn't care how many points she had that game, that she didn't care how many rebounds or how many assists she had. The only thing that she really cared about was what's your GPA. And so she said, I'll let your daddy spoil you about all the basketball stats. I want to know from you every month, what's your GPA? What you're going to do in college. And Nicole did that. So she got a college scholarship. She played college basketball. Cynthia graduated from Clark Atlanta University. And Clark Atlanta found out that Nicole had 1 year of eligibility left. And they invited her to come to Clark, gave her a scholarship. She played that last year on their varsity women's team. And Nicole now graduated from Clark with her master's degree. And now she is the assistant women's basketball coach at Clark Atlanta University. Cynthia would be so proud of that little girl. Not only did she follow in her footsteps at Clark, but she excelled academically.
I knew she was very passionate about Dart Branch Library. And Cynthia believed that the community that she served was just as great and just as smart as any other part of Charleston County.
So she started implementing changes. we're going to make this a safe and inviting environment for the children. And if you want to be a part of this, you can, but there's a new sheriff in town. And she went about changing the culture of that library to make it more inviting to the students, make it more safe, that the children want to come there after school. And after she passed away, you know, the evidence of that came when one of my former co-workers told me how her daughter would go to the library after school because it was a safe place to go, and Miss Graham made it so inviting to be there.
Cynthia cared deeply for her family. She was there for her friends. She cared so much for her cat. She cared for her garden. Some of our very best times were spent on her porch with her just watering her ferns or clipping some roses. It was those memories that inspired me to approach Reverend Dash over at the First African Child Development Center to transform an underutilized yard space that they had into a vibrant space for the kids to be able to play and read and learn. And in 2018, the Butterfly Book Nook opened to the public. It is a beautiful garden, a pollinator garden with indigenous native plants and a space to read, a space to get free books. And all of those things remind me of who Cynthia was and who she is and how she lived.
She wore her Blackness proudly. She was a very proud Black woman who was sure of herself and sure of what she was doing, and therefore she was able to relate to everyone. It didn't matter if you were white, blue, pink, or whatever. She could relate to everyone because she was sure of herself and who she was. So that just translated into everything that she did and to those whom she touched. And that was her strength, the faith, the love, and her personality of just touching everyone. Kind of makes me think about one of Oprah's quotes, heard it on YouTube, that your legacy is every life you touch. And that quote was made, I heard it back in 2018. So it stuck with me because when I think about Cynthia and her legacy and how she's touched lives and how she's still touching lives. A couple of days after June 17th, leaving the library, and there were a couple of young African-American boys standing out front. Oh, they appeared to be like maybe 9 and 13, and they were just standing there. And during this period of time, it was quite a somber time. And I could just tell, and they were just staring down the street to Emmanuel, where a crowd of people had gathered. And during that period of time, we always had a crowd gathered in front of the church, leaving flowers or artifacts or whatever. And so I asked the boys, well, how are you doing? And they were looking and said, you know, we knew Miss Cynthia. She always helped us with our homework. And looking at these, the sorrow on these two little boys' faces, but I often think about that. And I would hear when I'm visiting at the St. Andrew's Library, even years later, just parents coming in and talking about how the impact that she had on their children. And I know that that is something, as I reflect on Cynthia's family, of what they're doing and what they continue to do and how they're building on that legacy and keeping it alive. If there there's a lasting word that I would express to everyone, and that's simply that whatever you do, that there's power in love, there's power in faith, because when you have to stand, you're not going to be able to stand if you don't have a good power base of love.
Hello, I'm Congressman Jim Clyburn, and I currently serve as a House Majority Whip here in the United States House of Representatives. And I really enjoy calling myself a resident of Charleston, South Carolina, where I moved out of college, where I started my professional career as a public school teacher, married to a librarian. And that is a little bit of how I first met Cynthia Graham-Hurd. And I don't know if I've ever met anyone more serene than she.
Cynthia was my second favorite librarian. I always told her that. Every time I was stuck with a speech or something I needed to produce, of course I waited till the day before it was due to go down to the dark library and ask Cynthia to bail me out. After a look and a lecture and a promise never to do it again, which I did over and over again, she would help me. So this effort to commemorate her life, to show and to magnify to all who would benefit her legacy, her temperament, and her kindness. I am moved, my family is moved, and there is no one more deserving of that memory and legacy than Cynthia Graham-Hurd.
Thank you, Malcolm, for allowing us to participate, and thanks to the entire Graham family for allowing us to be a part of this effort.
With everything going on in the world, I just wanted to take a moment to let my heart be known that we are missing Cynthia Graham-Hurd every single day, that we're living for her in her memory, that we're trying to do the right things, that we're trying to, as Abraham Lincoln said, believe in the better angels of our nature. For me, it's not about what this country was or what it is, it's about what this country can be. And thinking about your memory inspires me to be better than I was yesterday and to do more. As a father, as a husband, as a servant, I can just say, I hope I make you proud. Thank you for everything you mean to so many people. And I hope you're smiling down on us today, even in these troubled times.
I'm so encouraged by the work of the Cynthia Graham-Hurd Foundation, for the work that they continue to do and picking up the mantle of Cynthia. We know that there is still so much work that needs to be done, and we are elated in the fact that they are continuing to share with so many the importance of reading, the importance of understanding how public libraries work, and making sure, most importantly, that Cynthia's legacy lives on. We count it a tremendous blessing, a privilege and honor, and I know that through the past 4 years, it has not always been easy. I've watched and I've seen the Graham family go through times during the trial, times of sharing, times of hurt, times of pain. But as the phoenix rises through the ashes or from the ashes, so have they. And this foundation is a testimony of that. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that this foundation will continue to excel and inspire so many others, the same way that Cynthia inspired so many others while she was with us. And it is my sincere prayer that the Cynthia Graham-Hurd Foundation continues to find the resiliency, the strength, the dedication, the commitment, and also the love to continue to share with so many, because we understand that as long as the foundation continues to grow, Cynthia's legacy will also continue to be with us. We thank you so much again. May God continue to bless you. May God continue to make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. This is our prayer for the Cynthia Graham-Hurd Foundation. God bless you.
Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. 'Twas grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. I'm Congresswoman Alma Adams, and I'm speaking to you on the 5th anniversary of the tragic shooting at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. Cynthia's loss was the one we felt hardest in Charlotte, not only because of her brother, our brother Malcolm Graham, but also because she was an educator, a librarian. Neil Gaiman once wrote that libraries are about freedom, freedom to read, freedom of ideas, freedom of communication. A library is the purest form of educational equality, a place where someone at any level of education can learn and grow. And to this day, it is still heartbreaking that the venom of white supremacy and the fangs of our gun culture stole away from us a guardian of freedom and equality, along with 8 other pillars of faith and justice. I'll end with this. Gaiman also said that libraries are the thin red line between civilization and barbarism. This is the power of books, of literacy, of pastors and librarians. Words are more powerful than bullets, and education will always be more powerful than a gun. This is the power of the Charleston Nine, of Cynthia Graham-Hurd, and all of the people who continue to carry their legacy to this day. Thank you, and may God bless all of you and your families.
I'm honored to join you, all of you, to celebrate the life of Cynthia Graham-Hurd and support the mission of Cynthia Graham-Hurd Foundation. 5 years have passed, but the pain still cuts deeply. 5 years since the 9 women and men had the courage to open their hearts and their place of worship to a man filled with hate and anger. You know, is there a greater act of humanity, of love, of faith than what Cynthia showed that day? What extraordinary courage. What amazing grace. I got to know Cynthia's family shortly after she passed. I saw the light in their eyes when they talked about Cynthia, her caring nature, her love of learning and books, how passionate she was about making sure young folks were on the right path, and her tireless desire to help the community and take care of those who needed her the most. She was indispensable, irreplaceable. I'll never forget speaking with Cynthia's brother Malcolm. I was calling to speak with him about Cynthia when my own heart had been broken as well. 18 days before Cynthia lost her life, I lost my son, Bo. So I needed grace from Malcolm as much as he needed grace from me. We talked about Cynthia and who she was. We talked about Bo and who he was. We shared our grief together, our stories, all that we would miss. It meant a great deal to me. Over the last 5 years, Cynthia has grown. Her legacy has grown. Her example has touched the hearts of millions, and the foundation has carried her work forward and continued to uplift her community. So today, 4 days before what would have been her 60th birthday, we celebrate Cynthia's life, her passion, and her enduring legacy. As Americans cry out for dignity, equality, and justice, that legacy is more vital today than it has ever been. So thank you. Thank you for keeping her spirit not merely alive, but deeply ingrained in the lives of others. And the words of the Foundation's motto, keep the faith and do the work. God bless you all.
Listen, I've had a good career, right? And I've served for 6 years as a member of the Charlotte City Council. I served 10 years in the state Senate. I ran for Congress. I ran a nonprofit organization. And Cynthia was saying, you're the most famous person in our family. And I was like, girl, get out of here. We would talk about that. She would kid, can I have your autograph, Mr. Guy? She would, because she would, at the library, she would get news clippings. And she always had Lexus, which, recalls anybody's name if it's published somewhere. And to my surprise, she always Google or Lexus my name every day. Cynthia now is the most famous person in our family in death. I mean, just a library that's named after her. There's Cynthia Graham-Hurd, St. Andrew Regional Library. There's a mural at Dot that's dedicated to her. The College of Charleston highest academic scholarship is named after her. There's a scholarship for graduate studies in library science at the University of South Carolina is named after her. She has her own foundation that's doing the work that she loves to do in terms of reading and literacy and civic engagement, that's helping hundreds and thousands of kids every day with her name on it.
So there's inspirations all around, which means that she's still around. Her spirit is still around. Her influence is still around. And like I told some people, until there's no one left to remember you, you live in spirit and you never die. So as I sit in this building, Cynthia's all around me. When I go downtown, she's there. And when I see a child with a book, it does make me think of Cynthia. I have a portrait of her in my den, so I think about her every day. And that portrait has her smiling. It's the same portrait that's in the Cynthia Graham-Hurd library. It's in my den, and she's smiling and she's happy. And she's saying, that's my picture. On that evening, everything was popping.
She is our family superstar. She helped bring down the Confederate flag in South Carolina through her death. She is an amazing woman, and I use the present tense. I never talk about my sister in the past because she is still with me. She is still with us. And she talks with me, and still to this day, she encourages me. And so her memory is everywhere. And I miss her. But we're celebrating not how she died, but how she lived and who she is. And that's why I'm so happy through these tears, because she lived a good life. And we all miss her. And we all love her. Robert, Gilbert, Jackie, Melvin, our aunts and cousins, and her friends and church members, sorority sisters, the greater Charleston community, and all her friends in Charlotte. We all miss her. But we do what she would want us to do. Just do the work. We're dedicated to doing the work and doing the work through the foundation and helping other people the way she would have helped them if she was still with us today.
So she left behind a legacy of caring, of reading, and doing what's necessary, not because someone tells you to do it, because it simply needs to be done. And I think that's the legacy that I want people to remember Cynthia for. I did it because it needed to be done.
Never thought that I'd receive the call that I received on that cloudy day. The clouds did not describe the weather, no. It describes how much my heart really does miss you so. But my vow is that the enemy can't win. Deep inside I still rejoice, for I'll see you again. You shall remain, you shall remain, until I see a pretty smile. You shall remain, you shall remain, you shall remain. Deep down in my heart, I know you shall remain. Although the years have passed, it still rings true. The paths that I pursue can't outweigh missing you. But I'll take each passing moment day by day, never admitting that my sister's gone away. But my vow is that the enemy won't win. Deep inside I still rejoice, for I'll see you again. I can't give over my heart to hatred. That's nothing that you would want me to do. So forgiveness is the path that I'm embracing, because forgiveness is the way we honor you. Hey, you shall remain, you shall remain, until I see your pretty smile. You shall remain, you shall remain, you shall remain. Deep down in my heart, I humbly know you shall remain, shall